These people work so hard, busting their asses out here 8 to 10 hours a day. It would be a real shame if something happened to their vehicles. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm playing. That'd be really up. Howdy boys, it's NPC today. We're back for the top 10 most underrated cars, part 2. Hey yo! You guys really seem to enjoy the first one, so here we are. I've got a banging list of 10 more really underrated vehicles in the game for you guys. And we're gonna hurry up and get started with number 10 here, which is the MTL Dune, because I don't want to lose my life. Anyways, if you guys couldn't tell from our little getaway right there, the MTL Dune is actually a lot faster than you might think. It's a big fucking truck. It's like briquette sized. Maybe ever so slightly smaller because it doesn't have 6 wheels, but it's really fast. I'm like honestly surprised at how fast the Dune is for being such a big vehicle. It doesn't feel very heavy either. It's quite agile. Oh. That's not going to support my case. But I think the Dune is a pretty agile vehicle for being so big. It's really light. You can get that back end to swing out quite a bit, which gives it a lot more mobility than other trucks in the game. I will admit that the handling has a very odd feel to it. It's kind of delayed in its turning because it's so tall, but then once you start turning, you can really get this thing to turn. And despite it being so tall and you can really see that suspension working, it is super controllable. It's like, it might look like it's gonna tip over, but it doesn't. And unfortunately, it doesn't really have any other special features to it. It's not explosive resistant, it's not bulletproof. It's just fast and big and light, and it's really fun to drive in my opinion. And I think it's a pretty worth it vehicle because it's not all that expensive either, so that feels good. If you guys are looking for an MTL Dune, you can find it under the offered section of the Southern San Andreas website for $1.3 million if you get the Globe Oil livery. But if you get the Furia Rally livery, it adds an extra $85,000. Both are pretty cool, but I personally like the Globe Oil one because it looks more like, it reminds me of M&M's. I don't think I've ever seen anyone driving an MTL Dune in online before. Up next, we have the Lampadati 5,000, which is a 4-door sedan that, once again, similar to the MTL Dune, you never see anyone driving this car in online. I've seen one person probably like 5 years ago, and since then, this car has kind of been completely off the radar. I think it kind of makes sense because it's not all that fast of a vehicle in terms of top speed. The handling, however, is it's pretty sticky. The only thing is like you get the tire screeching noise when you really hit the wide parts of your turns, and that means you're losing speed. So it's not all that fast of a vehicle, but I personally like the way it feels when it drives, and it's really good looking. It is super fucking sexy. That's what really gives it the spot on this list. I was kind of stalling, saying some other bullshit, but this car is hot as and no one talks about it, and I think it's just so visually stunning. It is a little odd because I think the back end looks really narrow like this, and it's a really long car, and then the front end is super wide. Like I think the front end kind of just looks like a Mercedes AMG. Kind of. It's like got some, it's got the same like width. It's got a lot of space on the hood. Obviously, it's a much longer vehicle, but I think it's a very unique vehicle. It's very outside of the box, and that's why it makes this list. If you guys are looking to grab a 5,000, you can find it under the 4-door section of Legendary Motorsport for $1.74 million. Definitely not going to say this is the most bang for your buck you're going to get out of a vehicle, but it is unique for sure. Looks really good, so look out for whenever it goes on sale next time if you don't want to spend the full price. At number 8 on our list, we have the beautiful Grotti Furia. I'm not going to lie to you guys and say that this is the fastest supercar out there. It doesn't have horrible performance, but it's definitely not anything towards the top of the class. It has a top speed of just over 120 miles an hour. And if you plan on racing with one of these, I would probably advise against it because it is 15th fastest in the supercars category. It's definitely not a bad vehicle. Don't get me wrong. There's just much better supercars out there like the Emirates, the LM87, the Krieger, and those vehicles are just beyond ridiculous in terms of performance. The Furia does feel extremely fucking good to drive. It's got like a loose feel to it, but it can definitely take its corners, and there's no outstanding issues with the car at all. Despite it not being one of the fastest vehicles, it doesn't seem like it's slow. There's no oversteer or understeer. It has pretty decent acceleration. It's also got an active spoiler, which is super cool. It's got a ton of great customization. I actually recently did a customization battle of the Grotti Furia with my friends Harmnan and Twingo. And I'm not going to spoil the results in case there's some of you out there who want to watch it that haven't yet. It was a very interesting discussion, to say the least. If you guys are looking for a Furia, you can find it under the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport for $2 million if you have the trade price unlocked. Otherwise, it's going to be over 2.7. Very steep price tag, but I promise you, every dollar spent is worth it. You will love the Furia if you get it. At the time I'm recording this video, which is April 28th, 2023, it did go on sale a few weeks ago, so it's probably going to be another maybe like 4 to 6 months before it comes back. But if you want one, I don't really see a point in waiting because you're going to get a lot of enjoyment from this car in the meantime, and you'll make all your money back. I promise you will not be disappointed. Up next on our list is the Ubermacht Cypher. Now this is a Beamer that came with the Tuners update, so it's got a ton of customization. You can make this car look so f***ing good. Now I went with a more simplistic build on mine, but I think it has a great looking base model, so I kind of wanted to just highlight those features. The Cypher is a relatively agile vehicle. It's not a bad choice if you guys are going to be doing Tuners races. And while it's a good vehicle around a track because of its ability to keep up speed in the corners, unfortunately, its top speed is pretty ass. It's got a top speed of 113 miles per hour, which is pretty slow in today's day and age. That's in the bottom half of the sports class. Very sad to see such a beautiful vehicle get done like that, but it's still number 7 on the most underrated vehicles list. That's why you don't use your phone and drive. But the reason the Cypher makes the list is largely because of it being a very solid pick in Tuners races, despite no one really talking about the vehicle. It's usually the Vector that gets talked about for circuits and the Jester RR in terms of top speed, and the Cypher doesn't really get mentioned, so I wanted to show it some love here because I think in the right hands this vehicle can put in some f***ing work. If you guys are looking to grab a Cypher, you can find it under the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport for $1.1 million if you have the trade price unlocked. Otherwise, it's going to be 1.5. I think this vehicle is completely worth your money because it's got great customization, it looks great, you've got good performance with it as well. Up next on our list is the Vapid Contender, which is a super f***ing fast truck. It came out many years ago, and at that time it did dominate the SUVs class. Since then, we've got some pretty crazy additions like the Astron. I know the Astron with the HSW upgrade is insane. The Taurus is incredibly quick as well. But I think the Contender is super unique because it's a big-ass truck. The Contender is relatively good acceleration, but where it really shines is its top speed and cornering ability. It's not the top of its class anymore, but despite it being so old, it still beats out a lot of other SUVs. Which is what it is. It's an SUV, not an off-road vehicle. And lastly, I just think it looks super f***ing good. I've got mine in a matte dark red with a cream pearlescent on it. And if you guys are curious on how to do the matte pearlescent glitch, I've got a guide out on how to do that. It's super easy. So I'll link that in the description if you guys are curious. If you guys are looking to grab a Contender, you can find it under the luxury section of Southern San Andreas for $250,000. This thing is dirt cheap. It looks good. It's got good customization, feels good to drive, and it's cheap. What more could you want? This is America! Trucks! No, I'm playing, but the Contender is a steal though. I would definitely get one. I'm not gonna blow this one up. The Contender is my baby. I would never do that. I'll even boost the volume for you guys so you can tell that there's not a sticky on it. Psych! No vehicles escape NPC's wrath. Leading us into our top 5 is the brand new Karen Boar. The Boar is not an outstanding off-road vehicle, unfortunately, but that's only in terms of racing. This thing is a fucking beast and it feels so good to drive. I'm not gonna lie, the Boar's front end is so fucking ugly, but I think the back and the sides have a really nice build to it. I like how it's a small, compact truck. It's got a really cool aesthetic to it. You can throw on a ton of different customization, but what really makes this vehicle such a pleasure to drive is the handling. It's almost like the Ocelot Virtue if you guys have tried that out. It's kind of like the tires are on ice, like it just slides around, and it's really fun because it can keep up its speed too. If you guys have been watching my videos long enough, sometimes I'll reference good looking cars with terrible handling as 10s with personalities, but this one is more like a 5 with a 20 personality. If you guys are looking to grab a Karen Boar, you can find it under the featured page of Southern San Andreas for $1.3 million. If it's not on the featured page anymore, it's going to be likely under the off-road section. Could also be a 2-door because it has 2 doors. But it's definitely worth a cop. Up next, we have the Trefade Nero Custom. Absolutely beautiful Bugatti. You guys might be surprised that the Nero made it so high up on this list, but when this vehicle first released, it wasn't the fastest supercar. Nowadays, it's definitely not the fastest supercar, but despite that, it's a good package deal. It's got good acceleration, it's got reliable handling. I would say sometimes the back end can step out just a tiny bit. It's very manageable. But the best part about this vehicle is the fact that it has a good top speed, faster than both the Adder and the brand new Thrax as well. That was something that surprised me because I just wasn't expecting anything too much out of the Nero Custom. I don't think anyone ever does. But I think it is very worthy of having some time in the spotlight. So here we go. That's number 4. Great customization, good performance, good top speed. You guys definitely won't be disappointed with this one. At number 3 on our list, we have the Obey 9F. This vehicle is such a sleeper. I know everyone knows of the 9F. It was the very first Audi R8 that was added into GTA Online. It's a very old vehicle, but I do think it gets overlooked. I'm not going to say it's the greatest thing of all time in today's day and age, but the vehicle is all-wheel drive and is pretty quick in a straight line as well. This was Harmdan's pick in a Topgear challenge where we had a budget of 250 grand. He put in the fucking work with this thing. The handling feels a little odd to me. I think the back end is super light and it's really easy to get it to kick out. I'm personally not the biggest fan of it. If I wanted an R8, I would just get the 10F because that car is fucking sick. But we're not talking about the 10F. The 9F is still a very quick vehicle and it's incredibly cheap as well. If you guys are looking to grab a 9F, you can find it under the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport towards the bottom. I'm driving the Cabrio version, and that's $130,000. But if you wanted the hardtop version, then you can grab that for $120K. Bright colors look super good on this vehicle, and if you really want to see a good demonstration of its performance, I would highly recommend you watch the Topgear video. I'll link that in the description below. At number 2 on our list, we have the beautiful Dubachi Masaka. The Masaka has crazy bang for your buck because it's got astounding performance. Like this thing's fast. It's got a pretty high top speed. It's got good handling. It actually used to be one of the best sports cars in the entire game. That was definitely like a boomer era because now it's just the Italia GTO. Just the Italia GTO. Just the Italia GTO. I didn't mess up saying that. I'm just making sure you guys heard me. Oh, it's a shame that this car isn't better because it looks so good. My only complaint with the Masaka is that it's just old and I wish it was better and faster because it's a really good looking car. And in addition, it does have pretty limited customization. And I think that this one is a fan favorite. So if Rockstar were to add some more customization to it like they did with the Zentorno and the Turismo, I think it would help revive the Masaka's popularity. Sorry, sir. Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Hey, yo. You sure? You sure you still want to go? Bah! Boom! Just for good measure. I do not condone violence against anyone. I was acting in self-defense. I promise you guys, I was acting in self-defense. And I was acting in self-defense. Not my fault that he's all talk. If you guys are looking to grab a Masaka, you can find it under the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport for $275,000. That shit is cheap, bro. Rockstar is getting scammed. Just kidding. That's inflation. But it is a really cheap car, and you're getting really good performance. So I would definitely grab one of these, especially if you're new to GTA. Praying this car gets into GTA 6 because it's a f***ing beauty. It's a pleasure to drive and own this vehicle. I'm a proud Masaka owner. This one I really can't blow up because I think it would be incredibly disrespectful to the Masaka. I think a better move instead is to kind of get like a 2-for-1 going here. Put on a beautiful demonstration for the Masaka. Ooh, did not mean to do that. Put on a beautiful demonstration for the Masaka, as well as dispose of any evidence. Does that not reach? Bro. Why is it not lighting on fire? Am I f***ing stupid? Did I forget how to light? What? I think it's just too high up. Oh man, that sucks. You know what? That's okay. When life gets in your way, you have to adapt and overcome. Now we've got a beautiful fireworks show, as well as a successfully disposed of body. And the #1 most underrated vehicle in all of GTA Online is the Benefactor Panto. I think it's very deserving to make the #1 spot on this list because in our most recent manhunt, which was Insurgents versus the Benefactor Panto, which, as you guys can all imagine, probably doesn't seem very fun for the Panto, but well, I'm just gonna say you guys should go watch that video for yourselves because I described the Panto as a little baby vehicle, I think were my words, and I was proven horrendously wrong. I think the vehicle is rear-wheel drive, but surprisingly, it's got ridiculously good off-roading capabilities. Like, it can kind of just shred mountains like it's nothing, which is insane because, like, it's just a little chipmunk car. Like, it's not supposed to be this good. As off guard as it did catch me, I do have to be realistic. This car feels like shit to drive, dude. It's like every 2 seconds I'm spinning out because the back end loves to kick out. You're kind of just doing 360s in the Panto. And catching yourself in a bush is like, oh my god. It's the worst thing ever, dude. You just get completely spun out because of how light it is. As you guys can see, I'm not having the greatest of times. The Panto's not all that slow. I was really surprised at how fast this vehicle can get itself to go. It's not crazy fast, but it's, you know, it can pull on the Insurgent, which is, I think, is saying something because the Insurgent has not great top speed, but it kind of hauls ass. I don't think the Panto is a great customization, but it's definitely not the worst I've ever seen on any vehicle. And this car definitely gives the ASBO a run for its money in terms of being a good golf ball. If you guys are looking to grab a Panda, you can find it under the two-door section of Southern San Andreas for $85,000. Pretty good bang for your buck if you just want a vehicle to mess around with, especially with your friends. I think it's best if you have friends to interact with you because you're not going to be having a fun time spinning out and doing 360s on your own. Unless you get like some battering ram vehicle like the Phantom Wedge and Insurgent and you just push the Panto around. But anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for our top 10 most underrated cars in GTA Online Part 2. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed the video, comment down below and let me know what you thought of my list. If I missed any vehicles that you think should have been featured, sub to the channel if you guys are new. There will be more videos like this coming out in the very near future, and that's about it. So take care and I'll catch you boys in the next one. Peace!